It's Taco Tuesday, another hope we don't lose day. My name's CJ Curry. Thank you for joining me for today's video. We've got a few different NBA options that we're going to be taking a look at here on Tuesday, November the 26th, 2024. So if you like NBA player props, this is the place to be. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. We're on our way to 28,000 subs. We're so close. Share the channel with a friend, hit the like button, and definitely make sure you turn on all notifications by ringing that bell so that you don't miss out on any videos in the future. Now, speaking of likes, I took the under on 199.5 likes. You guys went over by like 1 like. I think we ended yesterday's video at 201 likes. We've averaged about 170 likes per video over our last 5 NBA videos. I'm setting today's line at 174.5 likes. I'm going to take the over. I think we're going to get 175 or more likes on Taco Tuesday. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's picks because, we got some pretty good NBA games. For it being a smaller NBA slate, the action is quite good. Let's take a look at the games real quick. Chicago versus Washington, the highest implied total of tonight's games, 245 expected points. Oh yes, this is a great game to target some overs. Chicago 4.5-point favorites, and then we got Milwaukee versus Miami. You know the history between these two teams. These guys have gone head-to-head over the years and produced some very entertaining NBA content. 223 points with a 2.5-point spread, and then we got Houston versus Minnesota, 220 points there with a 4-point spread, and then we've got San Antonio versus Utah, 226 implied points with a 2.5-point spread, favoring San Antonio, and then this game, the late night capper, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. Big news out of this one, both Bradley Beal and KD are expected to return for Phoenix. So Phoenix looking like they are going to be at 100% strength with the big three of Booker, Beal, and KD taking on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So this looks like a really good game as well. 234.5 points with a spread of just 2.5. So in terms of injury news, there is some impactful injury news that's kind of lingering. You got Jordan Poole for the Washington Wizards listed as a game time decision. Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets also listed as a game time decision. And on the other side of that game, you got Michael Conley Jr. listed as a game time decision. Looks like Jordan Clarkson's going to be out for Utah. Keldon Johnson is expected to play for San Antonio. And then in terms of the injury news for the Lakers, nothing real impactful there. Looks like everybody's going to be good to go, including the brow, Anthony Davis. So what are the picks for today? Well, let's take a look here because there's a couple different options that I was liking. Let's start with Kevin Durant. Now, there's a lot of props that were looking really good here for Kevin Durant. A number of different ways you could go. You could go the over on the points plus rebounds. That one looked pretty good. The over on the rebounds and assists. I liked it at 8. It's been bumped up to 8.5, but both of these look like really solid options. You could even go points, rebounds, and assists. Let's look at some of the hit rates here for Kevin Durant. We're going to open up outlier.bet. Take a look at the over at 8.5 rebounds and assists. You can see what he's done so far in the 2024 season. He's cleared 8.5 rebounds and assists in pretty much every single game except for one, which was the first game of the season against the Los Angeles Clippers. So he's 8 for 9 this season, 89% hit rate at 8.5 rebounds and assists. As I mentioned, you could also go points and rebounds because the hit rates for those look pretty darn good too. So if you flip that over here, and then his points and rebounds line set at 28 over on PrizePicks. So if you set this at 28 on Outlier for over, you can see that just like the rebounds and assists, he's cleared the over on 28 points plus rebounds in 8 out of 9 games. So the hit rates are looking really good here for Kevin Durant, averaging about 34.1 points plus rebounds per game. So a couple of different ways you could go on KD. If you want to take the points, rebounds, and assists, that didn't look like a bad option either, as this one also has an 89% hit rate where he's gone over in 8 out of 9 games. Now, in terms of the head-to-heads, Kevin Durant versus the Los Angeles Lakers, those all look really good as well. Head-to-head this season, he's played the Lakers a total of 2 times. But if you look at the head-to-heads on the PRA over the years, last season and this season combined. He's hit the over on this PRA number of 31 PRA in 6 out of 7 games. 6 out of 7. He's only missed it one time versus the Lakers in the last 2 seasons. And this season, he put up 40 and 42 points, rebounds, and assists versus the Lakers. So the PRA looks like a good way to go. Let's go and take a look at the PR, the points plus rebounds again. Again, that is set at 28. Head-to-head against the Lakers, he has missed the PR in 2 out of the last 7 head-to-head matchups, but he is 2 for 2 this season with 34 and 38 points plus rebounds. So that's not a bad look if you wanted to go that route. And then the rebounds and assists, which are now at 8.5 on PrizePicks. My man has hit the over at 8.5 rebounds and assists in 7 out of 7 head-to-heads versus the Los Angeles Lakers, dating back to last season and into this season. This season, he put up 10 and 12 rebounds and assists versus the Lake Show. So Kevin Durant, a lot of different ways you could go here, a lot of good-looking options. I think all of those are fine. Let's look at the projections for each one of these using a couple of different trusted player projection sites. We're going to start with this one, which is RotoWire. You guys have seen me use this in previous videos. So we'll just punch in Kevin Durant's name. And when we do so, you can see that there's a lot of leaning more options here on the RotoWire PrizePicks tool. The rebounds and assists still shows 8. It hasn't updated just yet, but when you go and take a look at the projection, he is projected for 10.1 rebounds and assists. So obviously that is a healthy projection for the over. We talked about the points and rebounds as well. He's projected for about 28.88 points plus rebounds. So that one looks like a good move. And then of course the points, rebounds, and assists for KD, those are also projecting well. 32.3 points, rebounds, and assists. So you got 3 different projections for 3 different player prop categories for Kevin Durant. All of them leading more, all of them projecting for more, and all of them with great hit rates as well. Take a look at some other projections. We're going to go over here to Fantasy Labs. Fantasy Labs also liking some KD. If we take a look at the projections there, you can see that the points plus rebounds plus assists are projecting for 33. So that definitely puts him over on the PRA if you wanted to take that. The rebounds and assists are projecting for about 8.9. So if you got it at 8, congratulations. 8 was a good number, but 8.5 still doable. He's projected for almost 9 rebounds and assists. And then the points plus rebounds, which are set at 28 on PrizePicks, projected for about 29.9 according to Fantasy Labs and their projection models. And we'll check one more projection model for you, and this one's going to be Shot Quality. Shot Quality does a really good job. Some of the most advanced NBA player projection models out there. Their projection for Kevin Durant's PR, 29.36. The RA, rebounds and assists, projected for 9.1. And the PRA is projected for 32.7, let's call it. So all the projections on Shot Quality have Kevin Durant going over. I guess if you really wanted to narrow it down here and you wanted to pick one, maybe the rebounds and assists, being that he's never missed it in the last 2 seasons against the Los Angeles Lakers when it comes to the head-to-heads. Maybe that's the best way to go. But, anything can happen once the games begin. So Kevin Durant looking good overall. On the flip side of this game here, LeBron James. LeBron James actually looking pretty darn good for 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists for an over option. Take a look at some of LeBron James' hit rates this season. When it comes to the 38.5 PRA, he's done a really good job of clearing this number. 63% of the games in which he's appeared, he has actually gone over. And the games where he's played, 30 plus minutes, he averages about 35 for the season. So when he's playing 35 or more minutes, 75% hit rate, averaging 42.8 points, rebounds, and assists. So if he plays that 35 plus minute mark, if he hits his minute average like he has for the season, then he's in a really good spot. 75% hit rate. Now, I do want to point out that the head-to-heads versus the Phoenix Suns have not been great this season. He's actually gone under in both of his head-to-head matchups. They were from earlier this season, so maybe he wasn't primed and ready to go yet, but he did only have 33 PRA versus Phoenix back on October the 25th, and then 3 days later against Phoenix, just 24 PRA. So not the typical performance that we've come to see from LeBron James this season, but I would say overall, if you take a look at what he's done here over the last 10 to 15 games or so, just putting on a great performance. He's 8 for his last 10, averaging 43.8 PRA in that span. So seems like one of those games where LeBron is probably going to get up here, being that he's going to see KD on the other side, Bradley Beal on the other side, and Devin Booker. So hopefully that's the case, and LeBron shows up and shows out. Now, taking a look at some of the projections here for LeBron James, we're going to go over to RotoWire and take a look there. Top way to play LeBron James as far as a lean more option would be his PRA. This one's projecting for about 39.92 points, rebounds, and assists. So a good projection for LeBron. There's some other options that you could take here that are leaning more, but none of them have the same hit rate as the points, rebounds, and assists do, despite the fact that he has gone 0 for 2 versus Phoenix this season. But that looks like the best lean more option if you're looking to take an over on LeBron James tonight. Going over to his second projection, this was going to be over here on Fantasy Labs. We're going to take a look at the projection there. He's projected about 40.3 points, rebounds, and assists. So definitely higher than the 38.5 number that he's sitting at currently over on PrizePicks. And of course, we've got to also check the shot quality projection for LeBron James, where he's projected for a healthy, hearty 42 points, rebounds, and assists. So LeBron over 38.5 PRA looking like a really good way to go. And we're already seeing some sports books post LeBron James up at a higher number at 39.5 PRA. Taking a look at a third pick. This one's going to be a first half only option. We mentioned earlier that this Chicago Bulls Washington Wizards game has the highest implied total of 245 points tonight. So for that reason, I'm looking at Josh Giddey, but I'm not going full game on Giddey. I'm looking at his first half only prop for the fantasy score at 14.5. For those of you who don't know, fantasy score is comprised of a number of different statistical categories. You earn fantasy points by getting things like real points, rebounds, and assists. You also get mucho points for blocks and steals. Those are worth 3 points apiece. But you do lose a point for every turnover. But Josh Giddey, for the most part, at 14.5 fantasy score, has been absolutely crushing this number in the first half. So let's take a look at those game logs using outlier.bet. If you guys want to get your hands on Outlier, there's a link down in the description of today's video. Get you a 1-week all access free pass. Make sure you hit that link if you want to dig into more player prop research on your own. But taking a look at the hit rates here for Josh Giddey at 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists. 83% of the games in which he has played, he has gone over in the first half. A fantastic hit rate, averaging about 16.9 first half fantasy points. Now, there is a couple of games here in his more recent game logs where things have been a little bit more shaky for Josh Giddey. Last two games, though, have been phenomenal. 26.2 fantasy score, 16.1. So, I mean, you know, he started off the season super strong. I think he hit in about his first 10 games, but yeah, he ran into a couple of little bad games there where his minutes were down a little bit, but his minutes have popped back up here to, 13 to 15, sometimes even 16 to 17 minutes like he had here against the Atlanta Hawks. So things are looking pretty darn good for Josh Giddey. When we look at the head-to-heads against the Washington Wizards, now these both came from last season when Giddey was a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, so take these with a grain of salt, but he is 2 for 2 versus the Washington Wizards. So why should we trust him to go over against the Wizards in the first half this season? Well, that's simply because point guards like Josh Giddey have really feasted against the Wizards in terms of fantasy score here. For the 2024 season, no team is giving up as many fantasy points per game to the point guard position as the Chicago Bulls and the Washington Wizards. So this is definitely a game where you want to target guard play. So guys like Josh Giddey, your Kobe Whites, your Zach LaVines. If Jordan Poole plays for the Washington Wizards, maybe you go there, or Malcolm Brogdon, who has just more recently entered that starting lineup for Washington. But definitely a game where you could see a lot of guys go over their player props with the total being what it is. But yes, Washington giving up the second most fantasy points per game to point guards. So this is a great spot for Josh Giddey to continue his dominance in the first half. Obviously, we don't have any first half only fantasy score projections, but what we can do is try to see if we have some Josh Giddey full game projections for fantasy score. And when we take a look at those, this is a huge projection for Giddey, 36.22 for the full game fantasy score. So when you kind of like slice that number in half, that puts him at just over 18 fantasy score. So that can kind of be a rough estimate, rough way for you to get like a first half only fantasy score projection. Full game projection 36.22, slice it in half, you got about 18 fantasy scores. So he's in a great spot tonight. This could be a position where Josh Giddey continues to hit on that first half fantasy score that he's done so well at, averaging nearly 17 first half fantasy points per game. So there's 3 different options for you today on PrizePicks. Are you guys liking any of these, hating any of these? Leave a comment down in the comment section below. You got Kevin Durant, a lot of different ways to play him, LeBron James, and Josh Giddey. Who's going to help us? Who's going to hurt us? I'd like to hear your feedback and opinions down in the comment section. We'll see you in another video real soon. Good luck on all your picks, plays, and parlays, and happy Taco Tuesday. Peace.